Going live, preparing to start the live stream. So if you guys are watching this, make sure to eventually head over to library.tv. It says we're still setting up the meeting. So if you guys are watching the replay, just fast forward a few seconds. All right, so we are live, everybody. Let me make sure I got this muted. But hey, everybody, this is the Tim and John Show, episode 21. I'm Tim Pichot, the Liberty Advisor, and we've got John Snyson, the Economic Truth. And today we're going to talk about the Great Reset, the unsustainable drive to sustainable development, and the new Bretton Woods. Now, I was MIA for the past 2 weeks while I was traveling to the Red Pill conference in Jekyll Island, Georgia. I didn't want to wear a mask, so I actually drove 5,100 miles. And we do have a lot of good interviews coming up, such as, with Dr. Andrew Kaufman, Robert Kiyosaki, Mickey Wills, the producer of Plandemic, Alex Newman, Sheriff Richard Mack, along with Howard Lickman at the same time. So that was really good. Stuart Rhodes of Oath Keepers had some behind the scenes footage of Jekyll Island Club coming up. Also did a report from the Georgia Guidestone. So if you guys don't know what that is, be sure to check that out. But in the meantime, since we've been back, this is the first episode where we have officially been kicked off YouTube, and we being World Alternative Media, a bunch of other great channels were all kicked off at the same time. So, a lot of you guys were saying, hey, we're fear mongering. You're sick of us, wasting this time to tell you to go to other places. Well, guess what? We're telling you right now to go to other places.
Game over, bitches. Sorry.
Yep, like library.tv/at the Liberty Advisor, or could join the podcast or BitChute, which as of starting today, I posted a rant up there today from my drive down there. And pretty soon we'll have all my shows on BitChute. I think I have up until January up there, but everything's on library.tv, lbry.tv. And right before we're going online, I decided that I would go check out Yahoo Finance. And what was crazy is yesterday I was checking out Yahoo Finance, and what did I see on Yahoo Finance? And this is actually this is actually up there right now. So let me just go take a look here in real time. And we have, where is it? The Fed may be stuck with forever stimulus as exit from QE impeded. And another one here towards the bottom. This actually was at the very front and center yesterday underneath a slightly different heading, but it's major meeting of central banks produces same old evaluating CBDC's refrain. So that refers to central bank digital currencies. And John,
are they talking about the FSB meeting that they just had on CBDCs? Like they just put out a huge report on how central bankers should adopt CBDCs. By the way, CBDCs.
Yeah, what's crazy is it's, just all presented in this like nonchalant, manner, like, oh, it's just the same old talking about, going to a, global one world digital currency and, it's just such boring talk. And, gotta love how, these, central bankers, how they try to, paint this as like, oh, so no, not a big deal. It's just, the usual casual conversations about, global world domination and such.
Yeah, they're just sitting there like.
No, we're saving that. That's actually coming up when we talk about Klaus Schwab. And for those who don't know, Klaus Schwab, and I've heard a lot of financial commentators say this, so it's not an original thought by me, but he literally is is that Teddy in the background?
Yeah, that's my buddy Teddy, my homie Teddy. He's over in the corner.
I mean, Klaus Schwab is a literal looks and sounds like a James Bond supervillain, and I've heard I think Charlie Robinson talk about that. I've heard James Corden talk about that. I heard George Gannon mention that. And it's like everyone across the board. So if you somehow don't think that Klaus Schwab looks and sounds like a James Bond supervillain, then you're going to be in the extreme minority. And not that I ever like to be, agreeing with everybody else when it comes to these things. But, John, what I was thinking is that we would get into, while you brought it up, James Bond supervillain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewind this just a little bit, and we're going to play out. And hopefully, this is fair use. Hopefully they don't, kick me off in a YouTube for mentioning this. But this is all, and let me just back it up just a little bit. So this is all part of the World Economic Forum. They have a whole great reset. This is not conspiracy theory. I mean, literally, it's on their own website. They actually have a microsite where it's actually called, it's like / the Great Reset. Let me get that up in just a second here. So, here we go. It's weforum.org / the Great Reset. It's on their own website. James Corbett had a great video when I was traveling back. I ended up watching that video, and he did a great job talking about that. And so, anyways, we're going to play this out for a little bit, probably, pause it every now and then. But this is the bankers in their own words talking about, what their plans are for all the sheeple out there
who have died. Just imagine the personal tragedy which is behind all those cases. So we have to be very careful not just to look at the figures. Now, when we look at COVID, I think we should distinguish between three phases. We have the three R's: restrain, which means to fight the virus, the hot phase. Most countries are in today. Then we have recover, to go back to a kind of new normal.
Re-enslave the public.
Which means to define and to design the strategies which should lead us in the after-corona phase. What is the objective? What kind of world do we want to build? What do we know? What did we learn? I think the world which we want to create with the Great Reset has to be much more resilient. It has to be because security, people will demand for more security, physical security, health security. It will have to be more inclusive. We had already a big gap before the crisis.
I mean, the most secure place you could possibly be is in a prison. I mean, they clothe you, feed you, give you everything you need. And I mean, people are still sneaking drugs in there. They can't even, it's where probably the most male rapes of anywhere go on is, underneath the government tutelage. They can't even keep, the biggest pedophile in the world, basically probably world history, and Jeffrey Epstein can't even keep him alive. But, let's just turn the world into a giant prison planet to keep everyone safe for your security. What was it? Benjamin Franklin had the quote, or was it Thomas Jefferson that had the quote about those who are willing to give up safety for security basically will get neither. I mean, that's the paraphrase version of it.
Well, it's pretty obvious that that's what's going to happen to him if we go down this route. These technocrats, because that's what they are really just in the belief that we're stupid peasants that can't control ourselves, so they gotta control us, and they gotta make sure that you and me can be able to feed ourselves because we don't know how to eat properly, or we don't know how to save our money or take care of ourselves personally. So they all got to control ourselves on a micromanaged level, and that's what you get with these crazy cashless system that they're pushing. They got the banking for all now with the Fed now payment system over in the United States. Here in Canada, they've been having multiple type of payment projects that they've been working on for cashless. One was Project Jasper, which I covered. I think you and me actually.
Yeah, we did a video on that.
Did a video on
that
way
year.
back. Last year. That was actually Ripple project, but that went down south. According actually to, I managed to get a hold of the guy that deals with the cashless move for Canada, and he actually said that they went away from Project Jasper. They're trying to do something called RTR now, which is real-time transfer apparently. So I don't know what if that's even on a blockchain. Doesn't sound like it. So I think they went away from blockchain because it's traceable and trackable for the public potentially with a blockchain. So I think they don't really want that at all. They want a safe blockchain that they could control if it's a blockchain at all. I don't think actually these new CBDCs are going to be blockchains whatsoever, Tim, from what we've seen and heard. I think it's just hilarious. And one thing is this talk about stable coins. Stable coins against what? This is what really infuriates me when they talk about stable coins, like the ETH, the Tether, UDS, like UDC, whatever they call US dollar coin, whatever they called. There's many of them right now. The problem is you call it a stable coin, but the problem is it's losing its value in inflationary measures because of the actual the actual currency that it tracks is losing value. So that's not stable at all. So I don't know why they would even dare to call them stable coins. I call that a total fraud if anybody calls any of those coins a stable coin, Tim, in my point of view. But what we're seeing here is, with the great reset that the World Economic Forum has, you had I've been talking about it a lot, the book from a guy called Stu P. McIntosh called The Redesign of the Global Financial Infrastructure, The Return of State Authority. I highly suggest everybody reads that book because that is really what they're aiming for. But in the meanwhile, the IMF and World Economic Forum and others, busy bees, are trying to really put their ideas out there of exactly what they want to see. So they have different views on things, but of course in the background there's this massive entity called the Financial Stability Board, which runs the current financial system. Nobody's aware of that. Like we talked with Ed about the Fed being nationalized, which is not, and it's actually this Financial Stability Board, the Federal Reserve, Bank of Canada, everybody that's a part of the G20 actually implements measures that are actually put forward by the Financial Stability Board right away. So and that was one of the biggest pros, according to Stu P. McIntosh, the head of a group called the G30. He's the executive director there. This group is actually, it has the biggest bankers in the world, so all the chairs, all the major banks. It has the big top economists. It has the top central bankers in the world. And so this group here actually really prefers to have actually he said it's more dictatorial in its nature, but that's a lot better because there's less people to make a decision for everybody. And that type of thought and view is exactly also what Charles Schwab here is parroting, Tim.
Yeah, I don't know if you said a parody or parroting, but yeah, it's a parody of a
parroting. Yeah, well,
yeah, I know it looks like a parody of
a
a Bond villain, as we already mentioned before. But let's go back to our friend over here, Klaus Schwab. And I have it usually I'm on OBS, so it's easy to go back and forth. Right now, doing this live on Zoom, so let's just bear with me in real time.
This started, this gap will be tremendously increased. So if we want to avoid some kind of social revolutions, and we have seen
revolutions
on the streets already the last weeks. So we have to address this issue.
And let's just bring up that point real quick to stop it there. Revolution on the streets. I mean, isn't it funny how you had all these movements with a yellow vest over in France? You had, everything going on in Hong Kong.
You
had things burning down all across the world.
And across Canada, especially in the oil sands. There was massive protests there. There was a lot of protests everywhere, Spain, all these different countries, Italy, everywhere. And interestingly enough, that all actually it hasn't disappeared because people are resilient and they're standing up for themselves, which is good. But it became very convenient to say that those protests were illegal because of COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's just so obvious to anybody in the know. But anyways, let's go back to the Bond supervillain.
Yeah. To create a stronger inclusiveness. And finally, more sustainable.
It's okay that we're raping the economy because we have pink rainbow socks and talk about how great LGBTQ plus P, whatever other initials they want to add to that are.
Because we know
now the whole alphabet too.
That the next crisis is already waiting for us around the corner. And it is climate crisis.
Actually, we're right in it. I don't know if you got
the World Economic Forum, by the way, has warned the world related to the to possible pandemics since years, and actually 3 of the major organizations now in the fight against the virus, like
together with the Gavi and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation,
also CEPI. All those organizations were created in Davos. So we know that the next crisis may come on us, and we have to be better prepared.
Oh, just like they had Event 201 that was on exactly a year ago. I think like 2 days ago, where just hit the anniversary where they're giving out plush coronavirus toys and talking about what was going to go on. And just, magically, that's exactly what ended up
Yeah, it was the
happening. And it looks
coronavirus
like I
pandemic
accidentally,
that they were. Yeah, it's very interesting how that works, wasn't it, Tim?
yeah, I accidentally clicked off of that. Let's try to go. I'm trying. What just happened? It like moved off the one that I was on.
It's your computer. It can't take a certain amount of evil. It just gotta
Yeah, there's
get
only
rid
so
of it.
much. There's only so much bullshit that I can that I can handle before it just blows up. Okay, I found it again. My bad. All right, here we go.
Globally interdependent, and I think it's a wake-up call to work in the future together to address all the consequences and to create a reset in our economic,
A new
social,
world order.
ecological thinking.
The new world order.
All right, thank you very much. And actually, so we're gonna get off. How do I get out of here?
Thank you, not so much, but anyways.
Yeah, let's go back to where is it? The Great Reset. Yeah, and then you go over here and you scroll down. I forgot where it was. It's something like, they have all this stuff about how LGBTQ plus is going to be so great for the new economy and how we have to have all this climate change nonsense going on. Where is
Actually,
it?
talking about that, Tim, there was a commercial on the
Here we go,
on TV just recently that I actually was watching. That was, people of color, all this stuff. That was called something, but they were only hiring those people and gay people and so on. But no white people apparently. No white males are included.
I know. Yeah. No. Yeah. So here we are. Yeah. Here we have it. Why being an LG, and there's nothing against gays, but it's like LGBT plus ally can transform the lives. So it's like they package all this stuff up in rainbow flags, and they want to use
Where's the P
Black
for
Lives Matter.
pedophile? I think they wanted to be in there too, right?
Yeah, I mean that's eventually where they're going with it. But somewhere down here. Oh yeah, and then of course you got to have a mention about Bill Gates. What COVID-19 can teach us about stopping climate change, according to Bill Gates. The same Bill Gates that for years has been over New Mexico, has actually been having this geo engineering program where they've been taking aerosols and blanketing New Mexico with it. And I think the guy is Keith something, the scientist that was behind it. And you can find article. Well, at least you used to be able to go on Google, which now nobody should be using Google. But it's all open in your face. I mean, they have the former
they could see
CIA director.
clouds. Like, even if you were to just discard all of that, all the conspiracies and everything, and all the people talking about that, there's corporations that actually does cloud seeding to make it rain and to manipulate the weather. So no matter if you believe it or not, there's corporations right now out there doing that.
There's a corporation called the Federal Reserve that's been making it rain.
Yeah.
So, which actually it's funny because my Trump money gun that I have over here for some reason doesn't work anymore, even though I put new batteries in it. So it's funny that the Trump keep America.
I guess
again.
No more stimulus.
Yeah, there's no more stimulus.
So that's what it's predicting.
You've got to reelect. You got to reelect him if you want to get that new stimulus. But yeah, for those of you longtime listeners, we do have the Trump out of the bills over there. But yeah, I mean, you have the former CIA director, John Brennan, which at the time was the acting CIA director at the Council on Foreign Relations behind him, talking about of course he's like in his, sounding all prim and proper and talking about, according to scientists, geostratospheric engineering, and it's all the Council on Foreign Relations. I'm sure you guys know all about that. I'd love to do a full show exposing what the CFR is and how it's connected to Cecil Rhodes and the roads.
They're connected everywhere, Tim. Like, they're literally connected. For example, the G30 group that I talk about a lot was started by David Rockefeller, by the way, and an associate of it. So like it just shows you like how these guys, all these Club of Rome, everything that they started are just groups everywhere in the world that these networks, like little it's actually was Dan Dixie has his name on Facebook, actually on his Facebook page, is actually Weaving Little Spider, and that's what it is. They're weaving all these networks around the world
Well, that's a
that they could have as control.
Bohemian
Yeah,
Grove reference where it's like
yeah,
weaving spiders make something like on their
yeah,
like their slogan or their tagline.
yeah,
So yeah, and that we should maybe have like somebody like Richard Grove on to maybe he's probably one of the top
yeah.
experts on that subject. So I'd love to have him on. I want to give a shout out to people right now in the live chat. See a lot of people from who I'm assuming are from the and actually we see Etienne de la Boussier squared and yeah, I'd love to have you on that show as well. We did give you a plug earlier talking about how we have the upcoming interview coming up. I see
Let's get him on.
100% Canadian Maple Leafs
Howard.
stir up NJ Alpha Dog change the news, which is I believe is Zach. So thank you guys because I think you guys are all in the Discord. And so right now, I mean, there's an article section within the Discord, so everything John and I save on a daily basis goes over there. And very soon, all these shows are going to be on a timandjohnshow.com where we're going to have all the links and everything. It's not up yet, but I'm thinking hopefully in the next week and a half, 2 weeks that will be up. And John Brennan talking about chemtrails. Yeah, was there behind the Council on Foreign Relations, breaking it all down. But yeah, let's go back to talk about Klaus Schwab and the Great Reset. I know, John, you've been doing some research on the central banks and how they've been expanding their balance sheets, and you've been pulling together your own numbers. Do you want to? Are you ready to talk about that or to get into that right now?
Yeah, anytime, whenever you want. So I could get into it actually right now. These numbers are just mind-boggling, to be honest with you, Tim. It's actually quite scary what these numbers are telling me. It just I love Excel spreadsheets. I'm a geek. We talked about that. Jeff Berwick's like, I don't know why you like spreadsheets, but you love it, so that's fine. No, but it's really my part where I really like it though, the spreadsheets. I put in all this data in all the spreadsheets. I am going to visualize all this data in the next couple of weeks for you guys, so you could actually see where we're at, because the numbers are just mind-boggling, Tim, where we're coming from, where we're at, and all this stuff. And just since 2019, for example, the global central bank in US dollars, so this is US dollar terms, they actually have printed about what is it? Yeah, $12.6 trillion of new fiat that that they gave to the banks that are sitting on the balance sheets of these of the central banks right now in bank reserves for the commercial banks. So that's mind-boggling. But what we really should look at is actually the numbers from 2008. And so 2008 was the global financial crisis, and that's when it really started. That's when this whole collapse really started to become huge and very big, and it really started to take shape where the central banks started to go hardcore, going in and manipulating and buying up assets of whatever kind they could find to save the markets. And so since 2008, for example, till today, the central banks, Tim, they've actually, like, this is quite insane numbers, but on an average, so I took 78 central banks around the world that I have data on from Trading Economics. I pulled all the data in, and I came to an average increase of the balance sheet. So every central bank of the 78 top central banks in the world of 573.49%, Tim. So what is that over? So we're how much now? 2008. So that's a 12-year time frame. So if you divide 12 by 573, how much is that, Tim? Can you do the math quickly? So I'm just going to continue here, but it's 573.49 and divide that by 12. Then we get like yearly kind of increase. But just to look at like the increase of certain central banks and what they've done here, Tim, since 2008, actually the United States is a lot higher than the average. They actually increased their balance sheet from about 800 billion US dollars up to 7.15. It was current, and when I checked it last, it might be a little bit higher, but that is about 893.93% increase over 12 years. And if I'm not wrong, Tim, it would be an average increase of almost somewhere between 75 and 80% every year. Am I right? Yes, I am, and that is pretty insane. That is utterly insane. There's a couple of banks, central banks that are worse, of course. Argentina, being at 2,373.28% increase since 2008. Chile is 1,000.54. Let's see if we can find any other pretty bad ones here. It's funny how actually Russia is really, no, hold on. Russia, blah, blah, blah. I'm at there. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of central banks here. As I said, you got Ghana, 2,244% increase. Let's see if we can find any other ones that are pretty extreme. Yeah, Russia is totally insane. It's 9,998.82% increase in balance sheet. A lot of that is gold, actually, which is interesting, right? Like Russia has bought a crap ton of gold. You have Turkey has 940.9%. So isn't that interesting? The one country that is one of the ones that are struggling the biggest with inflation right now is Turkey, and they have their balance sheet increased just above the U.S. balance sheet, Federal Reserve balance sheet since 2008.
Yeah, all the food price inflation with Turkey, but no, just kidding. But yeah, we see every time I hear Turkey, I'm reminded of Hillary Clinton when Rand Paul asked her about the secret weapons program, where weapons are being smuggled from Libya into Turkey, and she's like, Turkey? Like playing dumb, like the average American public doesn't know what Turkey's a country, which she's probably correct that the average person voting for her probably doesn't know that Turkey is a country. But I mean, this whole entire Great Reset is because the banks are screwed, the central banks are screwed, all the people are screwed. There's no way to ever raise rates. They're completely stuck. You and I have been talking about this since I don't know, probably for over a decade.
My book, Tim, in 2017, I wrote that, I predicted negative interest rates, but then I said you're going to see a lot more negative interest rates. And people just attacked me for that. Like, I have it on the back cover of my book, if you don't believe me, on Canada, the greatest economy in the world, ? And it actually says that, that we will see a lot more negative interest rates, but nobody was believing in that. They thought that was utterly insane to actually believe that we would have more negative interest rates. People were like, well, interest rates are going to go up. It's like the same in 2015, my book, the End of Freedom, How Our Monetary System Enslaves Us. I wrote on there that, interest rates, people believe that interest rates are going to go up. I believe they're going to come down. And of course they went up a little bit, but they came pretty fast down again.
I remember in 2011, I sent a client an email right around the time that the USA's debt, was downgraded by, I think probably Moody's or something, like August 3rd, 2011. I sent the client an email saying, listen, there's no way for the Fed to effectively raise rates. Like, yeah, they could have a couple token raises, but as soon as they do that, they're going to implode everything and they're going to have to cut back. There's no way they can stop this. And I actually got in trouble for sending out that email because the compliance picked it up. They're like, oh, you're not allowed to prognosticate and what's going on. I'm like, well, then what good is a financial advisor if they're not allowed to prognosticate and what's going on? It's just absolutely ridiculous. And maybe we should probably I don't know, do you want to maybe get into what Bretton Woods is? Because we did title this a new Bretton Woods, but that goes back to was it 1971 when Nixon got off the it goes back to 1944, but if we officially got off that gold standard in August 15th, 1971, when Nixon got us off the gold standard. And here we are. Well, I was born on the same birthday as Nixon, so maybe I was also interesting enough, Bitcoin software client was released on Nixon's birthday as well. So it's funny how you've got like a freedom fighter, myself, and then you've got Bitcoin coming out, which is the ultimate destroyer. And we just recently I was at Meteor Crater in Arizona, which is supposedly the largest crater on Earth, above water, that is. And and it's sort of like basically that meteor is Bitcoin, and that's going to be what wipes out all the dinosaur currencies eventually on a long enough time horizon. But it's just funny, and how my birthday, and actually Zero Hedge was also released on that. The first blog post was on that day as well. So it's funny that you have Zero Hedge, Bitcoin, and then Nixon, who got us off the gold standard, all in that same Yeah, but enough talking about myself. But yeah,
But you're
Bretton Woods.
conspiracy theory. That's what you are.
Yeah,
You're walking conspiracy theory,
I'm
Tim.
really
Yeah.
Q. So
Yeah.
that's why. No.
Oh, there he came. He finally came out. I knew that.
I don't know, but actually, I'm not
behind it
Q.
all.
So I'm saying that to maybe because it's all a big ruse. But I wish I went to Bretton Woods when I was in New Hampshire because I was up there for Pork Fest. I wasn't thinking, so I should have went over there while I was in the state. But when I was in the state, also Ghislaine Maxwell, and yeah, I know I'm mispronouncing her name because she doesn't deserve to have her name pronounced correctly. She got wrapped up when I was over there as well, so that's sort of funny. But yeah, I mean, Bretton Woods was the big meeting where all the the globalists got together in 1944 to basically reset the monetary system, where they made the dollar the world reserve currency, and now they're calling for a new Bretton Woods to effectively basically create some sort of central bank digital dollar that would probably be housed either at the IMF.
Actually, actually, what was interesting, because you're talking about the IMF, Tim, it says here that actually it also gave the ability for the International Monetary Fund to bridge temporarily imbalances of payments. So actually, the reason why the International Monetary Fund and Georgieva, I think her name was calling out for Bretton Woods is because they know that if they could do it, it's the James Rickards IMF lender of last resort. I don't know if you read too much into that, but he predicts that the IMF would actually just fund everybody with SDRs and then buy up all the assets of the central banks when they have bought up all the assets. So they believe that the Bretton Woods that she's talking about is actually the end game, where the IMF will actually own everything, own all the assets on Earth by basically bailing out all the central banks and buying their toxic assets and putting it onto their balance sheets.
And this is something that they act like it's new. They act like this, and like they haven't been playing this forever. But this has been the game plan all along. I mean, G. Edward Griffin was exposing it in Creature from Jekyll Island, and now they're just trying to repackage this old idea as a new idea because look at this, coronavirus that we could have never predicted, even though we had an event 201 that predicted it, and then we funded the Wuhan lab for $3.5 million, and the exact same thing that we were funding.
Don't talk about this.
We're secret. I don't want to have. I guess we shouldn't have this channel.
No,
I guess you don't want to have this channel get deleted. But yeah, I mean, they're just repackaging all the same old stuff. I mean, James Corbett did a great job breaking that down on his on his channel, which I'm shocked that he's still up. I mean, if there's anybody that's putting daggers into the New World Order, it's definitely James Corbett.
I think the problem is with, like, when I really go and look at channels that are still up, it's the people that actually only use facts. Like, there's no even assumptions that are made usually in a lot of the people's videos. Like, that's who I see is left now. Is the actual
Del
people
Bigtree
that
will have things where he's got the exact statements,
it's true,
and they'll fact check him, even though he's got the exact video, and they'll say that that's not the case or something.
Yeah, no, it's hard to tell, but it's interesting. It seems like the people that are left now is the most articulate ones, probably. I don't know. Well, Del Bigtree really was, though. But James Corbett, of course, he's like a freaking genius when it comes to doing research and really deep research into a lot of these programs that are going on and everything. Because if you really go and actually look at documents, and this has been my point ever since I started to do videos with Josh, is whenever I do videos, I am not going to say anything that I can't prove. So basically, when you do say stuff, I actually can back it up. It's all out there. It's all in the open. It's actually available for every single person to be able to see those documents or the data available that I'm talking about. And I think that's what will make people like James Corbett and others really successful, is actually just proving people wrong with just pure facts. I know that they're trying to censor it, but if you have pure facts on your side, it's almost impossible to debunk you. They could try whatever they can, but it's extremely, like, I can see how they could try to debunk Del Bigtree with the whole aluminum thing and all that stuff. I see how they can get after him on certain things, but with like certain aspects of the monetary and economic stuff and what James Corbett does, like it's irrefutable. It's out there. He is actually reading word by word from documents that have been created by the elite or by whatever organization that he's talking about. So it's really funny how they're trying to make it a conspiracy theory, but when it's actually out there in documents from the own agencies themselves and from their own people, like Charles Schwab coming out there and actually calling for what we've been warning about for almost a decade now, Tim, it's interesting to see like how they actually like everything that we've been talking about, and we don't really, well, we do actually conspiracy theorize some stuff, of course, but
Well, yeah, we
when
say
it
what we
comes
say
to
when we are. And it's funny, all this talk of Klaus Schwab, now I'm getting actually advertisements for Charles Schwab. I'm at my computer right now. They've heard me talk about Klaus Schwab and probably think I was talking about Charles Schwab. So it's sort of funny. But yeah, one more thing I definitely wanted to make sure that we address, and this was sort of like a red alert when I saw this, and this could probably warrant being like its own video, how crazy this is. Not that it's like that shocking to anyone that listens to us, but China hands out 1.5 million of its digital currency in one of the country's biggest tests. So what they did was I think they had like 50,000 people who were going
they created a lottery, and they said
they created a lottery.
And they said like we don't know who won, so that's a way to actually get everybody to start downloading it, right? And then whoever were lucky got the money, got the yen, digital yen
in one city in Shenzhen. It was obviously a huge city, but they had 2 million people who downloaded this app. So now they're gamifying your own enslavement. And so, you have 2 million people willingly go and get the app.
Extremely smart.
Then
it's
they
free
give
money.
$30.
Yeah.
And
what
an
ingenious idea,
trinkets.
actually. It was a very ingenious idea, Tim. It's very smart of the Chinese central bank to do it that way. Like, I think if they ever going to lure the sheep in over here, they're going to make a competition out of it. We don't know who's going to get the free money, but somebody will.
And it's also sort of like what the Brookings Institute was proposing for how they were going to get everyone to take the vaccine. So what their proposal was okay, we give everybody $1,000, but right out of the gates, we'll give you $200. And so if you have a family of 5, we'll give you $1,000. But if you want to get the rest of the other $4,000, we're not going to give it out until 80% of the entire USSA has the vaccine. So then what they're going to do is they're going to then have everybody be like little snitches, and then trying to rat out your neighbors, and then trying to socially get your neighbors to do this, because if you're the guy that doesn't have, or the girl or the family that doesn't have the vaccine,
you're stealing my $4,000.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it's going to be. And I already, it's just, even today I had a lady on the tennis court, the same lady that always gives me crap, that here I am, like as soon as I'm about to leave, I have like my bag on. I'm like, she could have just held her breath for another 20 seconds, and she has to go, oh. And meanwhile, she's got a British accent, which pisses me off even more. And so she's like, oh dear, it just really pisses me off when I hear people who say that the virus isn't real and they aren't wearing masks. She's like, I just want to go take them and strangle them and bash their head in. And I'm like, well, and I'm like, well, I don't wear a mask. I'm like, well, I don't wear a mask. And I just went, was at a conference with 600 people where all of us weren't wearing masks. And I actually, according to Koch's postulate, there actually hasn't been any proof that this virus has actually never been actually isolated, and they've taken gene sequencing from other illnesses and put it into it. So that way there's lots of things that actually test positive for PCR. And the guy who created the PCR test even said that. She's like, well, I know, I've talked with doctors. And I'm like, well, I interviewed Dr. Andrew Kaufman. And she's like, oh, you saw him on TV? I'm like, no, I drove to effing Georgia and back. And I interviewed him there. And I've interviewed Dr. Judy Mikovits, who's one of the top virologists who exposed Fauci back in the 80s, which that interview is only on library.tv. That was actually the interview that basically, sort of severed the friendship between Luke Radowski and I, because he wanted to censor me on that one. So if you guys want to see the interview that, that we
I guess that's why it's still on YouTube. Luke,
yeah, and he's
that's
still
why you're on YouTube, buddy.
I guess we're still on YouTube too. But I went through and I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but I took down about half the videos. Either took them down and deleted them completely, which was maybe like 20%. And then
and we know what we're talking about too. Like it's the controversial videos where we talk about things.
The good stuff. No, the good stuff. No, I did. Now I did do or did leave up, the Geo Griffin one because, maybe the people over at YouTube don't necessarily know who that is, but I'm sure that we're not really long for this, but also I never monetized this channel, even though it currently is eligible to be monetized. So maybe that snuck under, we're only at, 2,500 people. So they probably don't really care. And they don't want to make me any bigger by, exposing that I got kicked off or something. So, but anyways, it's just, you and I spitting truth all the time, but what they're doing in China though, it is, they've got the smartest people in the world trying to figure out how to, incentivize people to get the vaccine, incentivize people to, take the mark of the beast digital currency. And then now I think I saw even in Australia, I don't have an article pulled up on this, but in Australia, they, instead of having, when you fly internationally and you got to fill out the little piece of paper, a little form when you land. Well, now they're getting rid of that and they're doing like a smartphone, like they're using like an app on your smartphone to do this. I'm literally at the next point where next time I'm up for a new phone, I'm just gonna go and probably get like a flip phone and maybe get some sort of like not that like Starlink is that great either, but be out in the woods, get Starlink, which I'm sure they'll use to track me, but then only use Signal. And I'm just like, I'm at the point where I'm just thinking, I'll just say big fuck it and just getting rid of my cell phone to track me.
The thing is there, I'm telecom, Tim, and what I would like to see is, how about we all, like, our people are coming together and launch our own satellite link up.
Well, that's
there.
what Colin is talking about. I mean, that's what Colin Cantrell of Nexus, where they want to create this own mesh network, and people would have different nodes, and then those nodes would then, receive currency in the form of, Nexus tokens to, help run the network, and then
I
have
see,
a whole mesh network.
Yeah, no, mesh networks are actually that's what we are succeeding on now here in Manitoba, where I'm at, because we do a lot of wireless networking here, because it's massive flat distances, so you need a lot of antennas everywhere. The thing with mesh networks, so what it is, it's basically decentralized networks that have tons of nodes in it. But what happens if one node goes down? They're close enough that they'll actually reroute the traffic around and onto the person still. That so usually it will be available for people, instead of that you actually, one big cell phone antenna goes down and then, all the people around it will actually lose the connection to it. So it's really smart a way to go, and I think that might be the future, Tim, for things. But for longer distances of communication, it's a lot harder. So that way you need that satellite up in the air, in my point of view, for the Liberty community, that we have a decentralized satellite up there that we could actually download our information from. But now, of course, you got Space Force up there. They even recently they actually launched a missile, a projectile from a satellite in a test exercise just recently. Space Force.
Well, it's a defense one. So as long as you're pointing a defense missile at somebody, and actually I do have a gun right over here, but so I'm not going to point it because I'm sure YouTube would take me down in case someone were to break in right now. But it's just so funny that we only have defense missiles pointed at Russia. It's like, I have a defense AR-15 pointed at your face. It's for defense. So as long as they say it's for defense, and that's like their get out of jail free card, because the average American's not can't put two and two together, that pointing a nuclear weapon at another country is pretty much like an act of war, and about pretty much the most egregious act of war that you can possibly get at. And I did see the military was also contracting out and buying some of the Starlink satellites. I think it's somewhere like they have somewhere like 700 satellites up now. They want to get 10,000, and then it gets to are we even going to be able to see the stars? Because now we have all these satellites up there, and but I am looking forward to being able to eventually, hopefully, be able to do things like going off grid or going to, traveling across country, now that, pretty much we can't fly unless we want to wear a mask, that, being able to have internet will be pretty nice. Just, what do we have to give up? How much are they going to be involved with the government, which is probably a lot. And, it's just always a mixed bag with everything. But I'm seriously at the point where I just want to give up the smartphone. And let's just remind ourselves, the smartphone, it's an Android. The Android processor is called Adreno. The Android phones, the standard browser is Chrome. There's Adreno Chrome. I mean, they throw all this stuff in your face. I mean, then Google was started, which then owns YouTube, was started by In-Q-Tel, which was the CIA's venture capital firm. And it's old news at this point to a lot of people, but it's just a lot of people still don't know this stuff. And while we're still on YouTube, might as well expose some more of the truth.
Yeah, and if you don't if you don't believe that Incutel is that, secret, venture capitalist fund that CIA is using, just go and read
Go to their
like
website.
4 or 5. Well, yeah, and it's 4 or 5 of the books of James Rickards. He talks about it in every book that he writes about Incutel, and how great they are at getting involved in the venture capitalist system to actually, especially on technological side, go in there and fund initially, these companies, that because they know that the technology on the long term of things will, highly,
Dude,
highly
and
benefit them.
let's just check out their own fucking website right now.
Yeah.
And you know what? Don't excuse my language, because if you're upset about this, you should be more upset about everything else that's going on. And not really, I don't really care. But so here we go with Incutel. This is from their Wikipedia page. Incutel, formerly I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Peleus, and Incutel is an American non-for-profit venture capital firm based in Arlington, Virginia. It invests in high-tech companies for the sole purpose of keeping the Central Intelligence Agency and other
There you
intelligence
go.
agencies equipped with the latest information technology and supporting the United States intelligence capability. And they are the ones who founded fucking Google. So, and don't be evil. And, and now they did everything where, and then the thing is, they can then see where movements are going, and then make a micro adjustment where they see Black Lives Matters rising up. They can see like the Tea Party rising up. They can see Blue Lives Matter, and then they take all these groups and make them fight against each other while they're sitting on top. And like another James Bond villain, it's like watching like all the piranhas like eating each other. And then you got the other piranha that's just sitting off there on the side. And as these piranhas, one of them's dead, the other one's weakened. And you've got the, the globalist being the piranha that's just waiting there, coming in for the final kill shot. And that's why, when there is, and I'm not calling for it, but, in case you want to say I'm promoting violence, which is how they took Josh down, saying that this conspiracy, hateful talk, we're trying to stop the violence. And so, but I'm not going to fight in this new civil war, because you got two crappy ideas on both sides of this, and neither one of them basically are get it. And so I'm not going to go kill myself in order to fight for the two bad ideas, because the globalists are sitting on top like that piranha that's going to come in at the end for the kill shot. And the ultimate kill shot is getting us on a central bank digital currency. But according to Jerome Powell, don't worry, because this doesn't mean we're going to phase out cash, even though actively right now, you go to the store and it says, there's big coin shortages because of the Federal Reserve, bullshit, and because of the virus.
Actually, about that, they talked about to just demonetize the highest denominated notes for now, and then still leave, the small currency, like the small coinage, and 1 or 2 notes, like the $1 and $5 left probably. But at that point, it's like, what are you gonna do? Money? Are you gonna have like extreme amount of stash of $1 bills that you're gonna walk around?
How are all the Wall Street bankers supposed to do their coke with only $1 bills?
Yeah, it's not as cool as $100 bill. They'll look like really cheap, and then they'll lose their business from other people because they look cheap. Cheap as well. But it's it's really interesting how all these organizations are so interconnected, and they're always communicating. They're always on top of the ball. What's interesting though is that it's so easy for people, from my point of view, Tim, here in Canada as well, to take a political side of things. And at that point, you're actually part of the game. You're playing the game. You're in there, enticing the civil war. And I said at the Union of the Unwanted last time, Tim, I said that we're basically setting ourselves up for, in the United States election I was talking about, for where they really want what do you call it, the contested election result. So they gotta have to bring that on and on and on and on, and nobody would know until when is it that the president gets inaugurated? It's in January or February?
Well, it's usually it's like January. I believe it was like January 21st. It's either January 20th or 21st. Because I was actually thinking of like just as a basically running to tell everybody not to vote for the Libertarian Party, because I would technically be 35 like a few days before that. So like just as like a gag, I'd be like the youngest basically you could possibly be to be president. But I would run on a platform of it's all bullshit and I'm not going to do anything and this whole thing.
Hey,
is a scam.
even the Libertarian Party is a scam right now. Like, what is it? Joe Johnson? What is her name? Joe
Jo
Jorgensen?
Jorgensen, and she's someone
Yeah,
that's like, oh, let's just
and she
trim
called for
government
the
1%
CIA.
here. She was saying, oh, Google's not really that bad just the other day, and all social justice warrior bull crap constantly. But you know
It's
what?
just
I'm
it's
back
just
to the
laughable.
InQtel.
Yeah,
So I'm looking
yeah.
at the InQtel like little blurb right now, and it says, they're discussing the power of the company's platform to understand patterns of movement and the spread of COVID-19 and its use in contact tracing and hotspot analysis. So great. We're gonna have InQtel rolling out contact tracing and everything
Mhm.
else. And it's just, and the thing is, it's on their own website. Like this, it's on
Well,
their
it's
own
really funny
website.
about the whole contact tracing too. Like recently, I bought my iPhone 11. Now I got the iPhone 11 Pro. Unfortunately, that one has the COVID app in it, which I have, not made available to contact trace. But that doesn't mean necessarily that I trust that it doesn't do it. But anyways, in that, like as soon as I got the Rogers, like here in Canada, it's the provider. It sent me a text like the day after to download the national COVID app that the federal government has come out with, and it's been all over media everywhere. Everybody's talking about download. And I think I actually posted. There was somebody else that posted it that I stole it from, but it was basically a skeleton sitting there in a chair, and it said like, yeah, this is me. The time I will actually download the COVID tracing app. And that should be everybody else too. Like if any of you have been stupid enough to actually download the COVID tracing app, I would seriously start to question myself as a human being. To be honest with you, if you actually download something like that, that's blatantly is like tracing you everywhere you go. And Trudeau came out here in Canada and said like, oh, no worries, because it's totally private and we are not going to use your data at all. And when somebody high up in the government says that, it's usually the total opposite that's true about it, of course. So, yeah, people that, believe that these tracing apps, that they could actually download them and that it's safe and that it's private and secure, it's pretty laughable to me, Tim. It's almost like they're just mocking us, basically, and saying that we're just stupid people. But a lot of people are stupid. It's here in Manitoba as well, people are stupid. It's really funny. I today I went into like a Superstar brand store here in Canada, and they have mandatory masking in there. But I walk in there, like I have my mask in my pocket because I never know when some asshole will start harassing me. And I walk in there, and then I
Yeah, but
see like probably
I went the
half.
entire way to Georgia and back, with not even carrying a mask, not even
Yeah,
having a mask, and
yeah.
had security call, had to deal with all sorts of bullshit for not having it. But made a stand. If more people just do it, then this would all
Yeah.
be over. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, it was interesting because up here I'm in Swan River, Manitoba right now, and it was probably like 40% of the people in a store that says it's mandatory masks that didn't have masks. So at least there's people in the rural communities that are not caring. But it's interesting, there was a recent leak, and somebody posted it on our website, no, on our Discord channel, about it was about can you pull that up, Tim? If see, like, it's a little bit further back. It was a supposed leaked document from the Liberal government here in Canada, and there was an MP or somebody that have leaked it onto the public and shared it, and it was basically an email. I kind of warned about all the different things that they have in plans for us, and I don't know if you can find it there, Tim.
Is
But
it
it was
Trudeau's leaked info? Trudeau's crazy COVID 2021.
yes, that is. Can you just like pull that up and go
Yeah,
through it
just
a
a
little
second.
bit, because I would like to have some comments on that, Tim, because I wouldn't discount that from being a part of a truth. Like, I think it might be false, but
Do we know if this is real? So this is like sort. So
well,
this
the
is like
thing
sort
is,
of
like,
speculation.
this is speculations for sure. But the problem is I wouldn't put this past Trudeau at all, or any of the people that are currently in leadership here in Canada, that they would actually believe in this. You could see that it's sent from a Proton Mail, which is actually a good mail server that people should use if they want more privacy. But as you can see here, they're talking about having this whole lockdown, keeping on going. And by December, they're saying that they will have some severe lockdowns, which is interesting. We're actually in Winnipeg in the metro area. Now we started now to call it metro area, everything around Winnipeg now. Never was called it before, but that's totally like Agenda 2030. They're saying that area is now going into a red, close to a red lockdown now. And it seems like it's just getting worse and worse, like all the time. Like everybody's masking up in Winnipeg now, but they're still like saying that, oh, people aren't complying, but then it's mandatory masks everywhere, so you get harassed to death if you actually don't wear a mask. But then there's like skyrocketing cases, like after that this happened, like 3 weeks after they had mandatory masks, and suddenly skyrocketing in cases. And people are like, oh, people are not following the rules, but you have mandatory masks. So I'm pretty sure that the majority of people are actually following those rules. At least when I'm out and about, like I don't see anybody in Winnipeg that's not wearing a mask. So I don't know why these cases are skyrocketing.
Well, I think it also has to do with whether people are in rural areas or not. So the more rural the area is, the more likely people aren't going to be wearing masks or not busting your balls for not wearing one. Whereas in the big cities, I mean, you go to a place like Boston or New Orleans, or and these are all places I've been to, or New York City, or basically any city, and even around me, like almost everyone at the grocery store. I saw one guy today at the grocery store that wasn't wearing a mask besides myself, which that's usually one more than I usually see. But I decided to even one up it, that I was walking in open carrying with a gun while not wearing a mask. So I just got to step it up a little bit. And
well, I guess they don't want to mess with you then. So
well, they weren't messing with me anyways. But guess who else doesn't wear a mask? I mean, Dr. Ron Paul, who's on my shirt over here, he doesn't wear a mask. Jimmer Griffin, 89 years old, he's not wearing a mask. And has there been any reports of any like super spreader, everyone getting sick from red pill with and mainly it was like 60-year-old white guys at this event. So I mean, I was certainly in the minority for being under 40. So so if anything, it was for the people that should be susceptible, supposedly it should be the older crowd. And from what I've seen, I don't know a single person, or haven't heard of a single person. Last time I checked, Joe Griffin's still doing pretty well right now. So
I'm actually going to call him now, and we're actually trying to get him on the Unwanted. What is it called again? The Union of the Unwanted. And I heard some rumors that we might actually have Alex Jones on there too, which is pretty insane. If you could get Alex Jones and Ed Griffin the same
room. Can you imagine if it was like us, Sam Tripoli, we got Ricky, Charlie, Alex Jones. I mean, and hopefully maybe Josh will wake up at 4 a.m. or not go to bed from the night before to maybe partake in that one. And now I was on my way to the Georgia Guidestones, so I was a little upset that I missed that one, because I wanted to talk to Greg Palast, except I didn't realize that Greg Palast turned into complete Trump derangement syndrome.
He's like heavy. Like I don't know. Did you see that whole thing, or
yeah? I had 5,000 miles to drive, so I had.
Yeah, and did you actually see me like how I confronted him on the voting, like the people that are not voting? But he said that 85% voted.
He was talking about percentage of registered voters, but you're talking about people that didn't even bother to register to vote. So he's using little semantics and like word
of course, yeah. So it's very interesting how that works, and of course it's he used to be like he's done a lot of good things though. He used to be a writer for the Guardian, if I'm not mistaken, Tim, right back in the day, and but he's totally like, it's so interesting, to what I watched, and especially media, and like North American media, it was like a total divide that suddenly happened right at when Trump got inaugurated, and it was like completely and utterly, like you were either left or right, didn't matter. there was extremely few that I found that were actually not left or right, Tim, at the time. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Like, why did that really happen? Like, it was just like such an instant that you had that pull the vibe right away.
I mean, it kind of comes down to, you know, I guess who you're around and if you watch the news or not. So if you watch the news and everything is Trump, you know, orange man bad, which, you know, I don't know why they're allowed to call him an orange man because, you know, Syracuse University had to get rid of their team name called the Orange Man because that was racist. But now, you know, they're allowed to call him the Orange Man, which actually, coincidentally enough, Joe Biden went to Syracuse. So, you know, so there he was. So Joe Biden was an orange man. And then you know, he said that he finished at the top of his class and he finished like 76 out of 83rd and said he finished with 3 degrees, graduated with 1. So he had a full ride. He didn't have a full ride. And he's like, oh, well, you know, I just misremembered a whole lot of stuff. But let's go over, you know, a few other before we round this out, because I am getting a little tired. I'm still trying to catch up on all the sleep from, you know, all the driving and everything else we did. But
I was up at like 6 a.m. this morning doing videos with Josh. So
yeah. So we got millennials own less than 5% of all U.S. wealth. And so, you know, obviously, you know, that's where a lot of the, you know, anger is being fomented because, you know, all the money's basically stuck at the top. Speaking at the top, we got the Pope just called private property a secondary right. He couldn't be more wrong. And so, you know, I forgot who it was that the president was. I don't know if it was Venezuela or something where they.
No, Bolivia. Bolivia. I have his name on the tongue, but I don't remember it now.
Let me just find it.
Yeah, find a current president of Bolivia. Well, Evo Morales.
I was trying to find the photo.
Was it Evo Morales?
Yeah, it was. It was. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, he gave actually a hammer and sickle, and there's actually a picture of that you could probably.
Well, I'm gonna, you know, I've got it up right now. Let me. I'm just trying to go to it. Here we go. So here's the Pope with the hammer and sickle cross, and here he is smiling. I mean, the dude's a Jesuit. You're not even supposed to be a Jesuit and be the Pope. I mean, I don't know how much, you know, credence I put into this, but, you know, the Pope's not even. You know, they still have the other popes. So I think this guy, like, if there was an Antichrist, that this guy could be like the closest thing to it. And before anyone gets their panties in a bunch, I was actually raised Catholic and left the Catholic Church. So, you know, if there's anyone that can bash on Catholics, and it's not to say the average Catholic or my family members or anybody else are bad people. They're all, you know, indoctrinated and wrapped up into all this crap like everybody else. But, you know, at the very top, I mean, how fitting is it for the Pope of all people to say, well, you know, how about the Pope how about they get rid of all their private property? How about they, you know, give up the troves of information they have?
Actually, so this is interesting, Tim, talking about the Vatican and the private property. They actually had to give up their property back in the 1700s, I believe, when John Law actually helped confiscate the private property of the Vatican and use it as backing for the livre at the time. So they actually had to give up their property, and it was used as backing for a currency back in the day, Tim, which is quite interesting, isn't it? It was a real estate based type of system that utterly failed, of course, with John Law, and you know, it's interesting. They actually had their private property confiscated at one time, the Vatican.
Yeah, well, I guess it couldn't happen to a nicer group of people. Then we have rounding this out, our central bank coins the end of financial privacy. You know, we've already talked a lot about that. I think we, you know,
10,000%, yes. Yeah, I think that's all we need to say. Like, we've been elaborating on that for.
Yeah, you and I have done countless shows on that and brought that up. Why every U.S. congressman just got sent some American Bitcoin. So one of the American mining pools, using good old American hash power, sent every member of Congress $50. So let's see if they're smart enough to keep that. And speaking of Bitcoin, let me refresh my computer. We are on the march to 12. Oh, we've crossed 12,000. We were under 12 when we started. So that's very exciting that we're at 12,000.
And this is good. This is good. I'm potentially getting paid in some Litecoin very soon. So this is very good because when Bitcoin goes up, you know, keep on ripping. As you can see, there's red.
Except Bitcoin went up 5 and Litecoin went down 5. So, but
but this is the thing though. Like right now, you know, that you have the Bitcoin is going up, you know, in the Bitcoin dominance as well. But then suddenly you have a massive altcoin rally. So that's what I'm waiting for. That's what we're talking about there.
It's crazy crazy. There's a sea of red of like every single thing. I mean, not every single.
No, that's what happens 90% of the time. Very much so, Tim, that you have Bitcoin just skyrocketing. everybody's piling into Bitcoin, but then you will get the alt rally coming after that, Tim. So just wait and see. You'll see, like it's happened so many times. I do not actually, to tell people, I do not actually have a majority of Bitcoin. I have only 25% of my portfolio is in Bitcoin, by the way. I have 25 in Bitcoin Cash. I have Litecoin. I have Monero, Ethereum. Yeah, this is just my own portfolio. And so I have that, but I'm not 100% in on Bitcoin because I have seen centralizations that have happened, unfortunately. So but it's interesting. I think and this is we should have tried to get Raul Paul on as well. I know he's getting harder and harder to get because he's building Real Vision into a real powerhouse now.
That's Raul. That's Raul Paul, not Ron Paul, not RuPaul, not Rand Paul. Raul.
Yeah, Raul Paul. Yeah. And
RAOL Paul.
Yeah, but what's interesting though, Tim, is that he's actually calling for the treasuries of corporations and eventually Bitcoin. Well, I called it back in 2008 that central banks would start potentially like this year or next year to implement Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. But now you're seeing corporations are doing it, Tim. And I think this is going to be just a bigger and bigger stride forward. You're going to see a lot of investment companies now starting to because I heard there was something about custody being set up for investment corporations, that they will actually be able to hold custody for people in crypto, right? So
yeah, I mean, that's starting, and that'll be a game changer once that comes out. And just so you guys know, I see people in the comments who are saying that they're wondering what happened to the Mel Krell interview. Well, with Mel Krell, I mean, we were talking about the Pacer family, the people that run the world, the Illuminati, all sorts of shit that they don't want you talking about on YouTube. So if you want to get that, you got to go to library.tv, LBRY.TV/@the-Liberty-Advisor. Or you can do it on Odyssey, which is the app that is the first app for Library. Pretty soon it'll be on BitChute, also on Podbean. You can listen to that interview as well. A lot of the juicy stuff, is on. I mean, unfortunately, this is the state of affairs. This episode will probably keep up because we didn't. Yeah, I guess we did talk about stuff and use some language. So who knows? Maybe this will get. And probably I'll just keep these on for like 4 or 5 days, and then once it gets uploaded to Library, which is usually like 10-20 minutes after we air this, it will be on Library. So just to make sure we've got some reach, I'll probably, a lot of these episodes I'll just delete them, or as I have new shows coming out, just give like a 5-minute little overview and say, hey, watch us over there as a reminder, because I know people, it's just human nature, even myself, they don't do things, necessity is the mother of all innovation or all invention. So, I've actually gotten into the habit now of, finding my favorite people on Library. And if they're not on Library, just tell them how easy it is. Like literally you click a button and you can get all your stuff synced over there. It's super easy, unlike BitChute, which is, an absolute nightmare for content creators. But with Library, I mean, you can go and you get little emails. So, if every time Josh,
I do actually, it's really good.
James Corbett, like Ivan on Tech, I'm following him over there. And so, I mean, a lot of good, like Tim Pool, I know is over there. I don't listen to him, but I know that a lot of people do. And so a lot of big time people are over there. I think I've got 90 followers over
Peter
there.
Schiff is he on BitChute or is it Library too?
I listen to Peter Schiff, his podcast. Actually, truth be told, almost everything I listen to is through podcasts. And there's very few stuff that I actually watch on YouTube besides, besides me posting there. I'm just busy running around, and I'd rather just have something in my ears, or if I'm in the car, or so personally. And I've been trying to tell Josh, hey man, like I would prioritize getting your ass on Josh, on
podcast. Get over it. Get podcast. What's your problem?
It's way easier than besides editing. I mean, all the time that's spent editing the videos, making them look all nice. And yeah, I love you, Josh, but it's way easier to just click a button to produce an MP4A or MP3 than it is to do that. And anyways, definitely appreciate everyone who's hit the like button. It's almost 100% of the people that are watching now. Obviously, some people have gone on, some people have gotten off of here, but definitely appreciate everyone for following us. I know we're getting a lot of hardcore truth out there. Also follow us on Discord. There's we had a huge explosion in Discord. We had, like, the other day, I feel like we had like 200 people on Discord. And today we got like 310 or something. Just in the past week, we've grown by about a third. And so a lot of the stuff we post is going to be in there. They can take you down from there. Hopefully within like a week. I've got like a rough version of the libertyadvisorshow.com out right now. It's not really up to my liking right now, so I have a whole bunch of edits I wanted to put through to make it simpler and just have one spot where all the links are. But it's not there unless you're listening to this like a month from now. Then yeah, it will be there. But timestamp today is October 20th, 2020. So 10/20/2020. Very I don't know, very even type numbers there. But anyways, do you have anything else you want to talk about? I know that I've had a long couple days since I gotten back, and probably want to just relax.
Well, actually, I just got one more thing that I just came to my head, and it's in the forex markets. The Norwegian krona, because this is like I'm from Norway, so I'm a little bit of a Norwegian geek on Norwegian economics and politics, and the Norwegian krona is the worst performing currency of all the major currencies right now, because we're extremely dependent country on oil. And it was insane, Tim. It went from 7.5 krona to $1 to 12 at the peak. Now it's at 9.3 something, which is pretty insane. That's a huge loss of value. I actually was running numbers on all these balance sheets too in US dollar terms, Tim, like from 2019 till today. And actually the US dollar has really been strong. And so a lot of the balance sheets, even though they increased a lot in local currencies, the actual balance sheet didn't increase that much in US dollars because the US dollar became so strong versus other currencies. But I think I don't know, like when we're going to reach the top of it all, because usually throughout 2000, and I think it was even before that in the early 1990s, in 2008, the US dollar peaked out at, very high level, where, it's very strong compared to the other dollars. It still is losing value, but it's still the strongest of the bunch. But then at one point it just like falls apart, and then the whole the stock market and everything just collapses in a black hole. And a lot of people think that they're going to see the stock markets go as low as between 50 to 80% down soon, which is totally possible because there's blatant disregard for actual revenue from corporations and cash flow. Nobody even cares about that anymore. The only thing they care about is who's going to get the next stimulus check from the government, and that is actually what's fueling the stock markets right now, which is pretty sad, a sad affair, Tim, to say the least.
Yeah, it's funny. When I was at a recent truck stop, I saw a guy with a Norway shirt on, and I'm like, "Oh, one of my best friends is from Norway." He's like, "Well, I'm not from Norway. I'm from America." And I'm like, "All right, well, I sort of figured you're from America." But anyway, it's just very funny. He's like a military guy. He's like, "Yeah, I was only there for this military trek." I'm like, "All right, well, my buddy was in the Norwegian military, but didn't seem like he was too happy to talk." But it's weird because I wasn't wearing a mask, he wasn't wearing one. Meanwhile, the diner only allowed like 6 people in at a time, even though it's pretty huge. Anyways. We're rambling, but definitely appreciate everyone for watching us. We'll be back with more episodes. Got a ton of episodes and shows, interviews coming from Red Pill that I've got to get up once I get some time to figure out the order of all this stuff. But anyways, I'm Tippett Cho, the Liberty Advisor. We got John Snyson, the Economic Truth. You can find all of John's information at theeconomictruth.org, where he's got consulting for people, who especially Canadians, for people, because I can't help people in Canada. But if you are basically, John, you want to give a plug about some of the stuff you can help people out with?
Well, what I have started to focus on lately is actually trying to do a lot of consulting for people. Actually, now I'm doing some consulting on blockchain, on actually a rating system for blockchain, which is quite interesting. It's a system that's quite opposite of what the decentralized systems are. It's a total open source decentralized system. So I'm doing some consulting on that. I actually consulted to 2 blockchains throughout now. One that I'm trying to revive back to life again because I really like the project. And another one that was in real estate based, in fractional real estate ownership base. So it's very interesting there. So I do a lot of for blockchain organizations. I've done some consulting there. I do a lot of research. As I said, we just talked about the central bank data and balance sheets and so on. I do a lot of that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that, I actually just recently, I'm hoping to start taking some payments for it because I've been giving it away for free just to, get my name out there a little bit. But I was recently featured in privatedebtinvestor.com, which has a newsletter for sovereign wealth funds and for private fund managers. That is, I think it was like $8,000 a year that you have to pay to be a member of it. And I actually got my my derivatives data featured there, which is really cool. So that's some of the projects that I'm doing. I love putting together and visualizing data, because when you visualize data, you start to see patterns as well. And I am trying to probably, like, within next year, I'm working on trying to find some AIs that I can use, so we really could fast forward the process of visualizing and creating all this data, because it's just basically me, man hours going into just doing this stuff. And I would rather have just an algo, pull the data and then put it in somewhere, and then visualizing it for me. And that's where we're going, by the way, if people know a little bit about like AI and stuff. So, but I do a lot of that, and then of course I do interviews on lots of different channels, and I do economic analysis. I actually been featured on a lot of different places. If you go on my website, I've been on BBC, like locally here, it's CTV. I've been on what is it, Global City TV, CBC News. I've been on a lot of all the different alternative platforms where I put up my content and knowledge. So I try to do a lot of that, Tim. And then, of course, you can have consulting hours with me where of course, it's all my opinion, but I actually do a lot of consulting where I sit down with a person, just go through like a little bit of monetary history, trying to educate them on what really is, powerful for them to maybe put their portfolio towards to secure themselves a little bit better. Of course, it's always my opinion, but it's always, factual opinion that are based upon factual stats and so on. So there's a lot of good content that I come up with for people that I really have helped people out, and they gain some really good power. There was a guy coming up to me, just to mention a little bit about it. He came up to me at, it was a Red Pill Expo that me and Josh was at. He's like, "You guys made me a millionaire when you predicted that I should put some money into Bitcoin back in, I think it was like 2016 or something." And so there's those things. I was in 2014. That's when I got involved in cryptocurrencies, because I saw the potential. At that time, it was only it was only Bitcoin when I got in, but then suddenly right after, you got Litecoin and Dogecoin came into play. So there is that aspect. I've always been, very fan of blockchain, the whole system itself. And of course, I'm very understanding of technology through my education itself that I have in my background. So I really have a lot of knowledge on the technological side, but I also love the analysis. And I think me and Tim are very good at predicting where we're moving towards, because we can actually see the patterns by looking back in history and looking at what they've done before a lot of times. And it just because it's this new digital currency era doesn't mean that it's going to be any different of what they've done with paper currency or with coinage and so on in history. So just go into the Economic Truth. You could book me directly there. And find me there, and then you be able to have a one-on-one, or if you want to do consulting hours, I could do whatever you want as a setup, and I would love to help you out with whatever you have as questions. And I could actually, like, I'm a pretty good networker, so I could usually bring in people onto the table for you that you might be interested in connecting with as well. So there's a lot of things that I could bring to the table for everyone, and hopefully, you guys will find some benefit in that, and we could have some monetarily transactions between each other because of the content and everything that I do.
And if that's your elevator pitch, hopefully it's a really tall building. So and you got or the elevator breaks and you get,
Well,
get trapped in
yeah,
there
it's
and they get
basically
stuck
the
in there.
World
So
Trade Center, but then it came down pretty fast again. So
yeah, and then I did get stuck at what was it, like the Voodoo Lounge once at the top of in Vegas, and I'm like on like the 70th floor or something. I'm like, oh crap, this is like the word. I do not want to be stuck here. And anyways, and you can find my stuff at thelibertyadvisor.com. I'm also in the process of tightening that up. But yeah, if you got old 401ks, IRAs, one investment management, all that, standard stuff, but done so in a non-standard way, then you guys can go hit me up and book directly there. Anyways, peace out. Thank you for everybody for watching, and we'll talk to you guys later. Take care.
bye.
And now I got to figure out how